Welcome to Tuesday night. Troy, what do you got for us tonight, buddy?
Hey, welcome to Tuesday Night Live, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're the House Heroes. We're with the Wham Fam here on a simulcast, webcast, whatever you want to call it. Hit the notification button if you want to know what we're doing or talking about when we go live. Definitely hit that notification button. It'll give you that information. Tonight, we're talking about offers. There's a lot of people out there putting offers on properties, and they're very confused about what's going on. You know, I have to explain to my buyers every single time, hey, what type of buyer are you? That's important, right? I have to explain that before we actually even go out and look for properties. And then at that point, I have to tell them what kind of buyer they are because the market is so hot and there's so many offers out there. So a couple things, you know, guys, we're very interactive. Say hi to us on the Wham Fam, on the House Hero side. Say hi. Tell us you're out there. You have any questions? We're very interactive here. Leave a comment. We'll definitely get to you and we'll answer all your questions. But tonight first, Ryan has fun with the numbers. What numbers you have for us, Ryan?
Let's get on it. Troy is really excited for this one. Fun with numbers segment. There's so much news coming out right now that we just decided we had to break it up in some other format because it's very dull when we just try and cram it down your throat.
I always thought it was the person, not the numbers.
I mean, it's absolutely the person too.
It must be the numbers.
So let's get into it. So we've got fun with numbers. 53%, Troy. What is this number? What is this number?
I don't know. That's the chances that the MLB will play this year?
Yep, pretty close. Nope. Lending Tree says that 53% of home buyers are more likely to buy a home in the next year because of COVID-19. So people thought that COVID-19 was going to have a negative effect on housing. It is 180% the other way. It's the opposite. So they're either tired of the small space they're living in, or they don't need to live in the town they're currently in because now they can work remotely. So remember that 53% of home buyers are more likely to buy a home in the next year. 1 in 10, Troy. What's 1 in 10? Give me.
Left-handed relievers coming in the bullpen after a ninth inning.
There we go. Only 1 in 10 borrowers in forbearance are actually equity poor. That means they don't have any value in their home. But 1 in 10 equity poor, what they're considering equity poor is less than 10% equity in the house. And we know if you're in that 5 to 10% range, you should be able to sell your home, pay commissions, closing costs, all of that, and exit that home free and clear. So really, it's even less than that are in a troubled spot. And we'll get into overall forbearance numbers here in a little bit. So 51%, Troy. What is that?
The Lakers' chance of winning this year.
There you go.
There you go, Lakers.
So Zillow notes traffic to for sale home increase is up 51% from a year ago. That's a huge up. 51% more people are looking at homes on Zillow.
So we have a COVID issue. We're definitely going over other social things that are happening in our lives, and we're up 51%, so people are hanging out online.
Yep, they really are. And they're looking for housing. You know, they're done being where they're at. So
absolutely.
Now we get to some of the news. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are saying that the forbearance rate is manageable. So they were talking and expecting these things to get into double digits, the forbearance rates, and they haven't. They've stalled out. They've slowed down. And the overall forbearance rate is 8.5%. So sometimes you'll hear the 6.6. That is the government FHFA rate. All in all, you're at 8.5 combined rate of mortgages in forbearance.
That's a crazy number in the respect that, you know, as we hit March and April this year, and everyone talked about, you know, the market crashing, everyone's going to forbearance, nobody's working. And then when you look at the numbers, looking back at the month versus all those predictions in the front of the month, you realize those people had no clue. CNBC, zero clue. It was all about fake news.
Yep, it really was. And I thought I had a slide in here, and we might get to it later. I think it was 33% was the number. 33% of all forbearances that have been approved aren't even being used.
Yeah,
which is
crazy.
Absolutely crazy. So yeah, you're hearing this $4.3 million forbearance number. They're, a third of those, it looks like, aren't even being actually taken advantage.
And then, Ryan, pray that doesn't show up in your credit report or isn't mentioned on your credit report.
Absolutely.
Because that's a whole nother program and a whole nother day that's been a complete nightmare for some of you who are trying to refinance.
Yep. And then more evidence of a V-shaped economic recovery. So Mortgage Bankers Association has said, we mentioned this on Friday in our weekly market update, that the demand for purchase money mortgages, those are these home buyers who are saying, hey, I want to go get a home, and they're doing the right thing. They're going and getting approved for a mortgage first. That application rate is up 18% over the same month last year.
Yes, again, with all the stuff that's going on in our lives, it's up 18%.
And so
that's
here
insane.
just kind of shows you through COVID, purchase money applications were down, and then bam, it is now through the roof starting in May. Just completely taken off.
Yeah, and then and the reason why I hit the V part is because everyone who had property on the market or was going to put properties on the market at the very beginning of the COVID scare, the fear factor, they pulled their house off the market. The buyers were still there, so you had a lot less properties, and so sales were down because of it. And the second that, we all figured out that a lot of the government and the so-called expert scientists that came out, and they weren't really accurate and completely off. I mean, massively off. Massively off. Now we just see that people are not scared anymore, and that's just the plain fact.
And now this one's interesting. So this is a St. Louis Fed financial stress test, and when the number goes negative, this is it's a bundle of a lot of things that they track in the financial markets. And this stress test is indicative that we're actually, so when it's up, that's when people are kind of panicking. And then when it crosses over into this negative territory, that is when all signs are go in the economy, especially as it relates to real estate. So we've got this crossover here, and they're saying that this signals directly with this new mortgage uptick right here of people that are looking to go out and get in that real estate market. And here it kind of shows you what this graph looks like. Here's obviously the Great Recession. You see it spike, and then it comes back, and this is the recovery. And so here's this spike, and it's already hit in that negative trough, and that's what they want to see. So here's just more headlines, just kind of grouped them together. Basically, potential home buyers are going to face historically low inventory this summer. Should home buyers expect a bidding war, Troy?
You expect a bidding war in December. It's never stopped.
Yeah,
it really has never stopped.
It really hasn't. And then Americans' anxiety about bills dropped in May. And that is very important because when anxiety is lower, we know they're going out and making larger purchases. And then renters say that they are less likely to renew their lease after the pandemic. Some of these reasons include, the gyms and all the facilities that they're getting in these nice, apartment complexes. They were all closed. They had no benefit from it. And a lot of them want to become homeowners. So there's multiple reasons that this is going to be a lot of renters moving out and getting into the home ownership role. If you can't use the club pool and you can't use the club weight room and all that stuff, you might as well own your house and go to the gym and go swim in somebody's neighbor's pool. Here are a couple more things to roll through. I'll just read them really quick. So in the May U.S. jobless rate fell to 13.3%. I know we talked about this again on Friday. The news had just dropped. And employers added 2.5 million jobs, blowing Wall Street expectations out of the water. Economists had forecast a loss of 8.3 million jobs and a 19.5% unemployment rate. So that was over a 10 million job swing. They expected an 8.3 million job loss, and they got a 2.5 million job gain. Just think about that. That is absolutely huge. And that came from Wall Street Journal. CNBC said the May gain was by far the biggest one-month job surge in U.S. history since at least 1939. And this is the breakdown by sector. I know Troy's got this graph for us. He's been going over in the past. But, here's our food and service and bartenders we talk about all the time. But the rest of this roughly 1 million are the jobs these are solid home buyers and homeowners for the most part. Construction, education and health services, retail, professional services, manufacturing. These are huge numbers. Now, obviously, we still got another 20 million or so that are unemployed. We need to keep going on this track, but these are definitely good signs. So
So before we jump into offers, and everybody out there I know are real excited about actually understanding what offers are accepted, what offers are rejected, why, like today I have 16 offers on a property, that which one they pick, what's most important, what's the actual pecking order. Before I get into that, let's go with a couple shout outs. I hear, hey, Susanna, how you doing? Thank you for joining us. I have Hazel, says, hi, is it nice? Nice to sell a home right now. Apps. This is probably one of two moments in the lifetime, my lifetime, and Brian calls me real old. Okay,
he's had enough for 2 lifetimes for the average person.
This is probably one of those two moments in which you can just put a property on the market and it's going to sell, and it is absolutely insane right now out there. You know, I hate to be an appraiser. I can't understand how they can actually keep up with the market. And I know a lot of appraisers are taking a lot of heat because they can't even keep up themselves because they're too busy. And so that's one thing that we're running into. But yeah, anyone has a house for sale, anyone thinking about listing their house, you are at the right moment in your life to do that. There is no ifs, ands, or buts, especially if you're going to buy a house, you know, and get a like the medium homes. So if you have a home that absolutely is entry level and you're going to buy up, this is the moment in time that you need to take advantage of it. This is absolutely that moment. So a couple other shout outs here. Carlos, so many buyers. Eric, what's up, Carlos? That's fun. Saying hi to Carlos. Let's see here. JP, how's it going, buddy? Thank you for tuning in. You know, I got Patricia Johnson. So buy out. You're gonna buy out in Riverside, and you want to buy into Bellflower. Both. I mean, it doesn't matter where it's at anymore. Right now, LA County's hot. Riverside County's hot. It really has not stopped. Again, last Friday when we had our weekly market update, for the first time we've ever seen this, that we had more pendings go on the market and go pending in a week's notice than we had actives. Imagine, more homes went into escrow than even came on the market. That is a absolute signal of a crazy hot market. Who else here? We have CD, thank you for streaming. And then JP, do you guys often see offers greater than the list price?
Oh, we're going to get to that.
Do I see anyone at or below list price? Let me just say that. I don't know any client that I have put an offer in the last, 2 months that I put it at asking. Everything's been asked above asking, and I've probably are at a 1 out of 4 clip of getting accepted.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's actually pretty good. So
let me go quick shout out.
Sure.
Ishrayo says, House Heroes, any changes on FHA guidelines? You know what? I'll probably let Min jump in on that. Obviously, we're not lenders. We rely on Min and all of his expertise. We track a lot of it. I know that our FHA deals are getting done. I know they had some overlays on FHA guidelines, because my understanding the FHA underlying guidelines never really changed, but there was different banks had overlays on what they would do and actually underwrite and go ahead and fund and then go ahead and sell in the secondary market with that FHA loan guarantee on it.
Well, one thing I saw today, Ryan, real fast. So as the pandemic hit, immediately went to 660. Almost every single loan company went to 660.
Yep.
And they made it hard at 660. You had to jump through a lot of hoops. Then today, I just talked to a lender from a fairly large company, and he said we just lowered to 640. We're starting to tick down because we're seeing that the market, they feel now, is stable. It was stable all before, but they were all panicking, right?
Yep.
Everybody panicked. Zillow panicked. Open Door panicked. Yeah. All the banks panicked. Everybody panicked except for the millennials, right? They were still out there buying. And so we're seeing that come back at the 640 range. But what's happening is that they're making it hard at 640, right? You have to jump through, you have to have, reserves, you have to have money, you have to have, there's a lot going on. We're going to continue to see it tick down and tick down further, but some banks are going to be extremely picky. If you have 1 million borrowers knocking on your door and saying, I want a loan, what do? You just go, okay, well, if I could only service about 100,000 of them, I'm going to cherry pick the best 100,000. And that's what you're getting today, guys. That's exactly what you're running into. Is anyone can do a 620 FICO, but they choose not to because they have too much business.
They choose not to. They don't want to take the risk of that loan ending up on their line. So let's jump into your question. When all offers are the same price,
yes,
boom.
So let's take a look at this offer. So when people come to us and I get a new buyer coming and saying, "Hey Troy, what's the process? What's going on?" And the first thing I want to do is I go to the lender and I say, "Okay, so where's my client at? What do they qualify for? Do they have enough reserves to actually put down closing costs? Do they have enough money to put down a down payment? Is it 3%, 5%? Is FHA conventional?" So I figure that out. Then I have a conversation with them about, okay, where do you want to go? What's your criteria, right? Do I want to go what cities? How many beds? How many baths? And then we have a conversation as I get them on auto search, what reality is right now, right? So if we were to go out, before we even go out, I say, if we go out and we see a house you like, are you ready to write? And most of them are saying, yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's do it. I've been waiting for this all my life, right? First time home buyer. Well, what we're running into is, well, if we get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Today, I just was informed on a client that I went $15,000 over asking that there's 16 offers. So as a seller, okay, how do I weed through all those offers? So this is what tonight's topic is about. As a seller, how do I weed through all the offers? Well, if we were to take all those offers, and let's be honest, 95% of all sellers are very greedy, right? They want money, the most money for the house, but they also want to close escrow. So it's not necessarily the most money, it's the one that's going to get them to the finish line. Yep. So I put this up real quick to show that we are in a seller's market. There's no question. They're in control. They control whatever's going on. And even though a buyer comes to me and says, you know, my friend just bought a home 6 months ago and they got all their closing costs paid by the seller.
That was a different market.
Not today. Yeah. Not today. It isn't going to happen unless you're the only game in town, and that usually means that house is beat up or there's something wrong with it, to be honest with you. So that's what it is. Why are we in a seller's market, Ryan? Give me 2 reasons.
Well, supply and demand. We have an absolute, just crush of demand coming in right now, and supply has dropped. So the numbers on the street are 18% increase in buyer purchase activity. We just saw that slide. And we've got other data in that's showing that we have 40% less homes than we should historically have on the market right now. So when you've got a 60% swing in inventory like that, it is a seller's market. And what happens? Prices start getting driven up, and you also get terms that are in the seller's favor. So we can kind of get into that a little bit as well later, but you have to expect to be able to remove contingencies, shorten contingencies, and a lot of other things like that, because right now the market's so hot, you can't just win on price. I know the last slide mentioned appraised value, and we're seeing a lot of situations where people are removing their appraisal contingency as well, so that they can hit that top price. But
so if I look at it also, the second thing is that we're shortage of homes. Let's be very honest.
Shortage of homes.
Freddie Mac came out in January and said that we were 3.3 million homes short of qualified buyers in the United States. Well, pandemic hits and they actually have to erase that number, and they revised it up to 3.8. They just came out the end of May and said, oops, we made a mistake. There's 3.8 million shortage. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're not getting better.
We're not.
We're getting worse. We're absolutely getting worse. And
we know that builders slowed down during the pandemic, and they weren't really building entry-level housing before. And that is where the shortage is that entry level and the first 2 move up tier price points.
Right. So Ryan, so if I go out there and I look and I'm running an offer for my client, and I get a new client, one of the two, if I'm a seller, what is the 2 worst offers if I have multiple offers, I don't even look at? What are those 2?
That's it. It's down payment assistance programs, and then down payment assistance with no closing costs. So they literally have no money, and they are getting money and closing costs from the lender. So they're bringing in roughly 1% to close this deal. If you've got multiple offers and you're pushing appraised value up, an offer like this, if the appraisal comes in short, they're not going to be able to come in with that difference. So you're going to be looking at other offers first because you want to get that highest price. You want to make sure it goes through. You don't want to leave, this negotiated price that you're looking at getting. Let's be honest, you've already cashed that check in your mind, what your sales price is going to be. You don't want to leave it to some appraiser who might come in short, and then your buyer is stuck. Either you've got to drop that price down for them, or they've got to cancel on you, and you're back to square one with a low FHA appraisal on your hands, which is going to run with your property. So if you've got multiple offers, you're staying away from DPA in almost all cases.
I mean, think about DPA with closing costs. Okay, I have no money. I want to buy a house. Well, there's got to be no one else wanting that house. It's got to be sitting on the market for a while. That scenario is not playing out very, very much in Southern California right now. And then DPA with no closing costs. Why do we mention DPA, down payment assistance? Is because that's a funded from a third-party company, whether it be from the state, whether it be from the nation, whether it be from a nonprofit. They've got to have the money. And so if they run out of money and you're in escrow, guess what? That seller is now back to square one, and he's not wanting to deal with you anymore. He doesn't want to deal with it. Yep. Most real estate agents at this point are not really wanting down payment assistance as even buyers. I even heard real estate agents go, you know what? I don't even want to deal with any down payment assistance people. You go find another agent.
And that's it. I'm working with multiple down payment assistance buyers right now, and it's just you've got to have that conversation of, you can't go out there and get the home that 10 other people are bidding on, because they're not going to be taking our offer. We've got to think outside the box. We got to be realistic on our price points, on what we're buying, and like we talked about, prices are getting ratcheted up with the multiple offers. And so that home listed at 400 is now going for 430. So you need to start looking at homes at 370 to be able to hit your max at 400 if that's your max. So it's about just being realistic out there. It's going to most likely take you longer to find a home, and you really have to get lucky. I've got a couple clients in escrow right now. Just put one in this week, and the property had been on the market a long time. It was very hard to show. It was hard to schedule with the agent. We were able to get in, put our offer forward. I had a conversation with the agent. He was happy to work with FHA, and if there was any repairs, they were open to working with us through the escrow to fix it. And you just got to get lucky like that. I've got another buyer, same thing. The home had been on the market, in the middle of COVID for 30 days. Seller was more than happy to get a good offer price-wise and was willing to take the risk. And that's where you have to win. You have to beat out on the price, and you have to basically appeal to that seller's greedy side. Well, I'll take the risk on going with this down payment assistance if he's substantially higher than these other offers, because if I get it, then I have that extra cash. So that's one of the tactics. And on that property, getting ready to close, everything worked out. I've got another down payment assistance as well in Compton, and that one's going well. So it's just, you've got to be relentless if you're going DPA, and you got to know you are at the bottom of the barrel in the seller's eyes.
All right, so the next set of buyers, when we're looking at that pecking order with the seller, is I call them the also rans. It's basically FHA, conventional, and VA with closing costs. Now, we say this in all sincerity is why is a seller's market, why the closing cost offers look so non-desirable? Ryan, next slide.
Bam. So
again, Ryan touched on this a few minutes ago. Number one, appraisal issues. If I have enough money, if I have 3.5% down on a property, and that's all the money I have, if I have an appraisal issue, what do? If the appraisal comes in less, well, obviously your agent's going to go and turn around and then negotiate that down. But in a seller's market, they're just going to say, hey, next, I'm going to actually pick the actual offer that doesn't have closing costs, that the actual buyer has the closing costs in their pocket, and then I'll work with that guy, because that one will come up to that appraised value. So it's very, very important. If I only have enough money for down payment and I'm asking for closing costs, I'm going to run in this issue every time. That's why sellers are less likely to take offers with closing costs. Second is any extra costs, not enough money. What happens if it comes up and you have to bring in more money? If it's, for any kind of issues with repairs, with anything.
Yep.
You get your hiccup. Again, I only have enough for down payment.
You didn't lock the rate jumps up, your payment's higher, you know, all of a sudden you're bringing in more loan fees to cover the, buy back down the rate. There's all kinds of issues that can, to get your monthly payment back under a certain DTI. There's all kinds of issues that can go wrong, and they know, hey, you need this help. So it's just when you're in the mix with multiple offers and you're asking for closing costs, you can look less than desirable. And the more offers there are, the less desirable you look.
Right, exactly. So what's the meat and potatoes? If I'm out there looking with my client and I want to get a serious offer in, the next slide, Ryan, these are the next contenders, right? They're straight offers without closing costs, okay? And I know that there's a few things that Ryan actually mentioned, which I'm going to let him elaborate here in a second, but conventional FHA and VA without closing costs are extremely desirable for a client. Now there's 2 or 3 other things on top of that that can even make your offer stand out. I know Ryan's going to go over him right now.
Yep, so contingencies. So when you're putting in that offer, if you've got cash, so let's say you're conventional and you can go 10% down, 20% down, you want to look strong. So you'll put the 20% down and you go ahead and you waive your appraisal contingency. If it comes in 10 grand less than what you're buying it for, hey, drop to a 10% down payment, pay that 10% difference in that appraised value and just get the deal done. The problem is if you don't get that house, the one that gets listed on that street, it's going to be the new comp for. And so you miss out on this one, and now you're shooting for the next one. I had a situation, 10 offers in. The agent was cool enough to give me a buy now price. I told him, hey, look, you see I'm good at communicating. You see my client's solid. This is where we're at. What's the buy now price? What do we need to be at to get it done? He gave me a number. I went to my client. My client's like, oh, I want to be $2,500 out of that. Wouldn't budge for $2,500. I mean, this is less than $1 a month over the next 30 years, Didn't want to do it. We lost that deal. That is the new comp. So the next, and there was 9 people that we're now with, that are going to be fighting for the next property that gets listed. So now we're going to be fighting at that is our baseline. So the next one's going to get listed is probably going to be at that buy now price, because the next agent's going to list it a little higher. And then now we're fighting with 9 people to go even higher than that. So I told my client, I'm like, look, if you don't hit this number, let's just be honest. You need to start looking for a smaller house. Or you need to expand your search into different neighborhoods that are, less expensive, because that's where the market's going right now in this area. So you need to keep that in mind.
Right, and that's a really good point, Ryan. The next point I want to make is a lot of homes I'm seeing out there are vacant, right? And those are the ones that obviously are not scared of selling during the COVID.
Yep.
So those particular investors or just regular sellers, they want their home sold fast. And the other way of getting this done is to have a deal with least amount of days in escrow. I just had one go in, and I submitted an offer, and the agent just rejected me straight out. And so my buyer got all huffy puffy, decided she wanted to go over, and she door knocked the seller. Okay, door knocked the seller. I was the only offer. And he said no. He said no for 2 reasons. One is he told me was we added the COVID-19 disclosure into the offer. And I said, well, just take it out. What's the big deal? Number 2, he said, well, I don't think your buyer is really that qualified. And we're saying, well, hold on. How would you know? So my client door knocked it, and this lady just said, I need to sell my house. And so she just, came back, and I just kind of went back to the agent and just got all over him and said, what's going on? What does it need to take to get an offer accepted with you? Because you haven't even accepted any offers. And he said, I don't know. And I said, okay, let's do 15-day escrow. 15-day escrow, 2 weeks, 1 day. My client's already underwritten, approved. Regardless of what you think it is, they're already underwritten, approved by a licensed underwriter. Let's get this done. He said, okay, that was 2 Fridays ago. We're going to close this Friday coming up.
That's awesome.
That's going to be 14-day escrow. Why did he would not have listened to us at 30 days. He would not have reconsidered. He reconsidered solely on the fact that our client is underwritten, approved, number 1. And number 2, we can get this done in 14 days, which we're completely on track right now.
Yeah, and we'll cover when we get to the agents portion later. I mean, that's just a bad agent. If you've got something that you don't like about an offer, pick up the phone, communicate with the agent, explain to them why you don't like their offer, counter them, give them the chance, to solve that problem and get the deal done. I mean, this guy, no wonder it was on the market, for as long as it was. It's because this agent is literally standing in the way of a deal getting done. So is this strong at all?
Cash is king, guys. But cash is only king if it's surrounded by the highest offer.
Yep. There's no cash discount right now.
There's none. Zero. Okay, so I've had this happen many times. Oh, I got a cash offer. Okay, good. They're closing in 2 weeks or even 7 days. You can close in 7 days with cash. No, they want 30 days. Dude, then what's wrong with my 14-day, 15-day, 21-day FHA? If let's be honest. I can pull up a bank statement and I have for an overseas bank account that takes three weeks to even bring the money over, and then it's if even the money comes over. So even though they wrote a cash offer, they're even more riskier than my FHA that I'm going to close a week before them. So even though cash is king, make sure your agent understands that they need to still do the little things to get their offer accepted, such as quick close, right? Or if the the seller is going to actually want to buy up, that they understand the seller's needs and then they match those seller's needs for their cash.
That's it. You match those sellers' needs. And the toughest part when you're, sometimes you just don't know if you're up against cash. You've got agents who just don't communicate on the other side. But if you have an agent communicating and they say they have cash, the other thing that comes with cash is those buyers want to nitpick the property. I can't tell you how many times I hear, oh, the deal fell out. Oh, what happened? Oh, well, it was a cash offer, and they just had a ridiculously long repair list that they wanted. You guys, cash is king, but there's no cash discount, and you got to be reasonable on your request for repairs. It's no different than any other offer.
Yeah, it's not.
The seller's going to go with the 30 days.
It's not called the stupid realtor trick that I use all the time.
Yep.
Hey, on that $500,000 listing, and I'm going to exaggerate this, I'm going to go ahead and do $1 million cash offer, and then I'm going to ratchet down $600,000 because I think that the property has all this laundry list of issues. It's a stupid realtor trick. Unfortunately, right now, there's so many other buyers behind that particular offer that they'll just blow you out in 2 seconds. So next week, what are we going to discuss next week, Ryan?
So next week, we're going to go over how to pick the right agent.
Hey!
What buyers and sellers must know. So definitely go ahead and subscribe below so that you get notified when we go live. And definitely check us out on all our platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok. Troy's gonna start busting out his dance moves at some new builder, communities and stuff, since he's the king of new builds right now. So
burpees, I'm busting burpees.
All right, there we go. We'll have to do a burpee contest at the builders.
Well, Ryan, I'm gonna throw this number out at you as we close here, and maybe everybody else out there can as well. So, how to pick the right agent? 66%. What do you think that particular number is associated with?
How many times you make up a statistic when you throw one out?
Unfortunately, I didn't make this up. The National Association of Realtors made this up, and this is an insane number for, surveyed. If I call it surveyed, sometimes they make it up. Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
That's how many sellers only discuss about selling their home with one agent and then list. Think about that. 66% of all sellers only interview one agent and accept an agent. They have no clue about any other marketing plans out there, any other way. And every day we see this out there where I'm actually, how hard it is to get a hold of agents on listed properties? The agent doesn't even put their cell phone number in the MLS. So what they did was they were slick talkers up front, and all they did is collect the check and didn't care about your property at the end. They just didn't want to deal with it.
It's the 3 Ps. Put it in the MLS, put a sign up in front of the yard, and pray somebody else sells it for you.
Right.
The 3 Ps of real estate.
And was the 4 Ps? Collect a paycheck.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. Well, thank you guys.
Some of those don't.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us on this Tuesday live. We know you have plenty of other things to do. I think Ryan went over it. Definitely hit the notification button. You could see all of our weekly special events that we do every week on YouTube. We also post the weekly market update, which is really important about actually the week before in all 4 counties here in Southern California. You can see that on Facebook, no, I can't see Pinterest, right? It's YouTube, Instagram that we posted on, and we definitely appreciate your time.
Yep. Thank you guys for tuning in. Definitely check us out here on Thursday if you want to hear it in Espanol with Roxy. And Friday, we'll be back with Deal of the Week, and we will be recording the weekly market update. If you guys want to see those, check us out on YouTube. Thanks.
All right, guys.
Peace.
Have a good night.
God bless.